So Joy and I have talked about this in the last several years. 3 words, go for it. I watched the Boston Celtics twice over the last 3-4 days. Boston would make an accountant proud. They're frugal. They develop players. They draft well. They're smart. They did everything right. They got the smart head coach. They win every trade. And I watched them yesterday blow a lead to a very average team, the New Orleans Pelicans. And my takeaway is, this morning the Celtics are 6th in the East. Their roster doesn't have a legitimate big. Kemba Walker's deteriorating physically, and they don't have enough good players. They've become the Packers. Is that frugal, put their money away, pay off their house. But go look at the last 5 NBA champs. I'll read them for you. The Lakers, they went and got AD. The Raptors, they went and aggressively got Kawhi. The Warriors, they aggressively got KD. The Cavs, they got LeBron and Kevin Love. Heat, they got LeBron and Bosh. That's your last 5. Okay, the Celtics were in the James Harden sweepstakes this offseason. Do you know what Danny Ainge said? The price is a little too high. They were in the Kawhi sweepstakes, and Danny Ainge said, the price is a little uncomfortable for us. They were in the Paul George sweepstakes. They were in the Anthony Davis sweepstakes, and they talked themselves out of it. In the last 35 years, the proud Boston Celtics have a title. Remember the year? They went for it with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. The Dodgers were really good. They went and got Mookie Betts. The 3 best teams in the NFL at the end of the year were the Buccaneers, total go-for-it organization. Buffalo went and got Stephon Diggs, and Kansas City, nothing but stars. I know other GMs look at the Celtics and go, oh, they're so frugal and they develop and they accumulate draft picks. They're just not that good. They're just not that good. They need another star. They have no size. They tried to trade Kemba Walker in the offseason because they know he can't play back-to-backs. He's deteriorated. Danny Ainge last week on Boston Radio, to his credit, acknowledged you don't have enough good players. Who beat the Celtics last year in the Eastern Conference Finals? Miami. They went for it with Jimmy Butler, which I didn't love. It was kind of a risk. Butler had been hard to get along with, temperamental, struggles with some teammates, and the Heat got to the finals. And I know Brooklyn right now is a complete tinderbox emotionally. It's going to blow up eventually. But right now, this morning, they just went 5-0 on a road trip without Kevin Durant. They've won 6 straight. Between Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, they're offensively virtually unstoppable. And so, Boston for years, they did everything right. It's so Packers. The right coach, the right draft picks. They win every trade. They developed Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, who have some limitations, but they were so patient, and you don't have enough good players. They're not going to be able to beat Milwaukee or Philadelphia in the playoffs because they'll get owned by Embiid and Giannis's size. They're not offensively gifted enough to beat a Brooklyn. And Boston's one of those teams, you always know your team is kind of limited in any sport when they have to play a certain way to win. Like if this team doesn't play exactly how it's scripted, like, they always say baking is just following directions. Cooking is kind of artistry. It's making it up as you go. The Celtics are in the baking category. Like you have to follow the directions of Brad Stevens perfectly or they can't win. And in the end, congratulations on being patient, saving money, being frugal, and winning trades. It's not that good of a basketball team. You don't have enough good players. Brooklyn in an hour is suddenly better. Lakers played Miami yesterday. I don't take a lot from it. Miami won. They should have won by more. The Lakers almost stole it. The Lakers are in a shooting slump right now, regardless of Anthony Davis being out and Dennis Schroeder being out. They just can't shoot. Miami's an interesting story. So, and this happens in sports, and fans don't want to admit it. We think, the minute you're good, you're going to be good forever. We think dynasties are going to last forever. And we think sometimes we forget that sports, you see this every year in March Madness, where there's a team that gets hot, lightning in a bottle. They're not that talented. They have all sorts of flaws, but they play with confidence. They maybe get a break or two in the seeding or the playoffs, and you look up and George Mason and VCU are knocking off teams, and they don't really have NBA players in March Madness, and you're like, wow, how did they get here? It's lightning in a bottle. Not every team that gets deep into the playoffs is great. There's breaks, there's momentum. And Miami last year shocked everybody. They were a 5th seed, and then they ended up in the finals. And I think they got a lot of breaks. Number one, they were super healthy. A lot of teams in the bubble had injuries. Older teams sort of unraveled. The older NBA players missed their wives. They missed their kids. And outside of the Lakers, every other veteran NBA team kind of folded and underachieved. But the Eastern older teams, Milwaukee, just didn't play well. And then nobody had a book on Duncan Robinson or Tyler Hero. And Bam, until the finals, was playing very good basketball. And here came Miami. And Jimmy Butler had this energy, and everybody was feeding off it. And Eric Spoelstra, of course, is an excellent coach. And you look up today, and Miami's just not that talented. Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson are incredibly limited players, both defensive liabilities. If you run them off the three-point line, they don't have much of a game. Bam is not good enough when Jimmy Butler's hurt to carry a team. They're 3-9 when Jimmy Butler's not available. There's a reason that Pat Riley went after James Harden hard when Harden was in Houston. Like, they just don't have enough. They need another guy. But it also goes to show you this happens. There are lightning in, we talked about Cam Newton. Cam had a lightning in the bottle year. His division was awful. He stayed healthy. It was a weird year where Carolina met Arizona in the NFC Championship. Green Bay wasn't as good that year. And all of a sudden you look up and Cam Newton's in the Super Bowl. And you're like, it kind of happened once. Everything kind of worked out. Doesn't take anything away from Cam or George Mason or VCU or the Miami Heat. But I'm watching them yesterday, and I'm like, they're not special. Right now, they would not be a playoff team. Now, they're not many games out of it, but they're 4 games under 500, and Jimmy Butler needs help. And now there's a book on Tyler Hero, and even Eric Spoelstra, who's a great coach, doesn't have all the answers. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.